receiving piece of paper with the open text on top of the glass plate. Then I put the piece of copy paper on top, and then I put another piece of paper on top, and with a number 2 pencil in block letters, write very carefully, not with too much pressure, write down the message that would be copied onto the paper that was mailed. My existence as an agent, I got my information from Moscow through shortwave, encrypted via Morse code. Mm-hmm. So no number station, no like when they say 7, 5, 4. The reason for that was not Morse code can deal with bad reception much better than the spoken word. But so it was shortwave, which has unlimited reach, and you can't determine who is listening to it. It's out there in the ether for anybody to listen. You know where it comes from, but so what? Mm-hmm. So that training was also very good, and it took a while for me to be able to write down, and Morse code was all numbers, no no letters, only the call signals. There were call signals at the beginning of the session. They had a couple of letters and a number or something like that. It means, this is for you. But everything else was, because it was encrypted. You don't do an encryption, to my knowledge, with letters. So it was all digits. And it took quite a while until I got to a point where I could, where the speed was, I could listen and write down at a speed that meant I wouldn't have to spend 2 hours listening to this. It went really fast. It took once a week, maybe 3-4 months at least. And then I was taught 2 manual algorithms to encrypt and decrypt. That was awkward and lengthy, but the manual algorithms were initially used to avoid using a one-time pad. And you know what a one-time pad is, but for the benefit of the audience, this is a set of numbers that subdivided into groups of 5 that are used to do some mathematics with the numbers that you receive, and at the end you get another set of numbers that then translates into letters and signs and all of that. And a one-time pad, obviously, if you're in possession of that, that's spy paraphernalia. Yeah. And so they sent me out with a manual with something I had in my head. And after 4 years, I had to learn yet another algorithm because that algorithm had become vulnerable to encryption at the time with technology. Nowadays, it may not last as long. I don't know if it's still true, but it may well be that even nowadays, one-time pads, if you use one sheet only once, and these are sheets, the sender has an identical set. These are sheets that should be used only once. If you use them only once, you still cannot decrypt it. But if you reuse them, anyway, the last 2 years, because there wasn't enough time to teach me another algorithm, they sent me back to New York with a one-time pad. Now the size was about like this, and it was like a little notepad.
Was it similar to a microdot? Or what the?
No. Microdot is much smaller. Microdot you can only read.
Sorry. I thought you were going saying okay.
No, it was. This is the real size, roughly like this.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
It's like a little notepad, and there were no numbers on it. You had to develop it. I had to use iodine to just put a little iodine on top, brush it with iodine, and then the numbers appeared. But it still was paraphernalia. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I also was an amateur photographer at the time, so they made me do a little bit of photography, develop my own pictures and so forth. I didn't have to use that in reality. What else? Oh, microdot. They taught me how to make a microdot. I never used that. Again, what a microdot is, you take a picture of a document, you develop that negative, and then you use a microscope in reverse to make it really, really small, like the size of a pin of a needle. And you can put this under a postage stamp and send stuff back, not to Moscow, to some other country where somebody picks it up and eventually sends it to Moscow.
It's incredible. It's so crazy.
It is crazy. Somehow we didn't use it. When I had that much information to send out, we used a dead drop. That was part of the training as well, finding dead drop spots and practicing meetings and dead drops. Not a lot. Eventually, I had to sort of figure out. No, what I had to do during the training, I had to find sites and describe them. So sites that where you can put a container, where the container would not be out of place, where somebody might not want to pick it up and throw it away, and where you most likely are in the American term. Every time I think of it, I can't think of it. I translate from the German. It's called a dead zone, where you disappear behind. You go around a corner of a bush and you drop something and nobody sees what you just did. So I had to describe those, and I got high compliments for being very good at finding these places and describing them so that they're easy to find. And then secret writing, there was a protocol to it. We used for secret writing. We used a copy paper that was manufactured by, let's say, go to Walmart, buy a notepad, and then impregnate a number of pages with some trace of a chemical, whatever it was. They never told me what it was. So with a trace of that chemical, but when there was pressure applied and that chemical moved to another piece of paper, it could be developed and you could actually read it. They once showed me what it looks like. The protocol was very, very rigid. Okay, I had to use a glass surface. Well, this is how it worked. Okay, so first I write, I prepare a sheet of mail paper, and a regular airmail paper, a sheet that you put into an envelope to send out via airmail. I had to prepare that, and for that I was supposed to use gloves. Well, I didn't like gloves, so I handled everything like this. No fingerprints. So I had to put this on a glass plate that was really clean. Everything had to be super clean, and wipe it like this across with the back of my hand. So to just get everything off of it, and obviously I had to wash my hands, and then write an open text. Obviously I sent this to somebody, so if I sent this to Miguel Fernandez in Mexico, I would say, "Dear Miguel." At one point I actually wrote that in Spanish. But anyway, so "Dear Miguel, I'm glad to hear that you're feeling better. I have improved too. Thank God. I got another job." Like, just come up with, like, this was really easy to do, right? That just you write something that makes people think that you know the person that you're writing it to. Then, if you have to encrypt something like addresses, anything that could be indication that could help somebody, counterintelligence, to find the individual that I'm describing, not the recipient, but if I describe, for instance, somebody who I suggest for recruitment, I give name, address, and all that. So that had to be encrypted. Any identifying information, so I had to do this manual encryption. And then I would also write down what eventually I would transmit. So I know I was limited to 2 pages of paper. So I wrote it all down, and I had the draft of this text lying next to me. Now I put here's the glass plate. I put the receiving piece of paper with the open text on top of the glass plate. Then I put the piece of copy paper on top, and then I put another piece of paper on top, and with a number 2 pencil in block letters, write very carefully, not with too much pressure, write down the message that would be copied onto the paper that was mailed. That took quite a while. And also they showed me what it looks like when it's developed. And I understood why it was a number 2 pencil and you couldn't put too much pressure while writing. I had to use a light hand because it was at the edges was readable but smudged. Yeah, this was very, very sophisticated chemical technology.
Yeah, no, I mean that is incredible.
But it was a pain in the neck, and before it took a while to even get the letter in the kind of shape that you can mail it. Then the protocol was to do a surveillance detection route before I put the letter in a post office box.
Mm-hmm.
And so typically, if I did this on a Saturday, while I had a job during the week, I didn't have enough time.
Mm-hmm.
So I did, and I was never available. Every other Saturday, I wasn't available for social interaction.